In the meantime, a very big welcome back and thank you for joining us, everyone who's watching on the Recovery Through Enterprise or Nen Valley Facebook pages. We are back for part 2 of our live Dragon's Den session. Really pleased to be rejoined by our judges this afternoon, Andrew, Hilly, Oliver and Mark. Thank you very much for rejoining us for our second batch of pitches this afternoon. So without further ado, I'm going to admit our fourth contestant this afternoon, Uzziah. So bear with us 1 second while we patch him in, or her in actually. I don't know, I haven't spoken to them personally. Let's find out. Just connecting. Good afternoon, Uzziah. How are you doing out there?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Am I pronouncing that correctly, Uzziah?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great job. As long as I'm not mangling it horribly. It's really good to meet you, my friend. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us this afternoon. Thank you for putting the pitch together. We're all really looking forward to hearing what you've got to share with us. Really pleased to introduce you to our judges first up, Andrew, Hilly, Oliver and Mark. So without further ado, if you're all happy and comfortable at that end, I'm going to spotlight the video onto you and I will hand over to you for your pitch. So good luck. Okay.
My business plan is all about the architectural engineering. It's all about to construct and implement new buildings and adding along the technological aspects and approach to planning, design, construction, and the operation of buildings. The targeted clients are the architectural firms. The targeted work is segmented into 5 categories. You've got educational, you've got healthcare, you've got commercials, you've got government facilities, and you've got contractors. The most significant challenges ahead include expanding the client base and ultimately positioning the firm to have a presence in a larger global market. My mission is to provide top quality professional engineering service for construction and other related activities to a balanced mix of public and private clients. I am also committed to high standards of client service, staff development, ethical practice, and reasonable profit. My clients will seek us out for reputation as a truly interrogated engineering firm whose ability to collaborate extends beyond the entire team and surrounding community. We will be recognized for our design excellence, system interrogation, and commitment to stability. We also seek to add value through innovation, creativity, aligning ourselves with my client goals, delivering service that meet their quality and schedule and cost objectives. In order to be successful, my business plan and idea should have excellence in providing professional quality services on time and on budget, developing visibility to generate new business leads, developing a follow-up strategy to gauge performance with clients, implementing and maintaining a quality control and assurance policy, and leveraging expertise from our combined experience into multiple revenue generations opportunities, such as mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, and project consulting. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I'm just going to switch us back onto the gallery view. Thanks a lot for that. That was a really, really thorough and thought out presentation. You'd obviously put some thought into it at that end. Dragons, with that in mind, I'm going to throw over to you guys for your questions.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I've got quite a time-served background in home improvements, and I understand some of the challenges that you might face in the construction industry, particularly with who it is that you engage to carry out the work. What do you see as your biggest challenges, and what is it that you will do differently to other people within that sector?
My job is to increase my business and getting over to like increasing more clients and being able to increase costs and provide such products and services within my clients and my business as a whole.
Right, so you're actually looking to sort of provide the architectural element to these businesses, or would you see the whole project through, for instance?
I would say the architectural firms would.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask, good afternoon, sorry. Could I ask you where you are on this journey right now? You know, are you in progress with developing this this business? You know, you have you've sort of defined business plan, but are you on a journey with it? Do you have an understanding or a position where you are right now, or is it hypothetical at the moment?
It's currently hypothetical. I would say that my business is starting to develop. It's the start. It's essentially the start. Okay,
so where are you? What are you doing today within this sort of environment?
At the current situation of COVID-19, I would say I'm currently working towards my business, developing and creating new ideas, and therefore.
Okay, so at the moment you're sort of in the kind of blue sky phase of your business, essentially, then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so
yes.
So I guess your next step will be starting to develop an understanding of the scalability of the business and how, at what point, which area of the very broad spectrum of activity that you will start with. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Hi there. Just so, are you studying architecture? Is that your kind of? Are you at college, or have you done an architecture?
I'm currently studying college engineering, but the architectural part is just my idea. Like, I want to develop. I just came up with an idea of architectural because I have interest.
So so that process after college, does that involve sort of university for architectural courses, because they can be 6-7 years long, can't they?
Yeah. One of my long-term goals.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine. And have you got any sort of family experience, or is it a sector that you're familiar with from that perspective?
I have no experience, but I would like to. I'm just interested in the architectural.
Great.
Yeah, that's all.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Mark, did you have any questions at your end?
No, it's all been covered really. Just I think you mentioned it, just very thorough in your proposal, and just it's just nice to see that during the process of you learning and kind of jumping into this space, that it's obviously sparked ideas in between your ears, and you're kind of excited about that creative element as well, which you put into your pitch. So yeah, just big clap. Well done.
Tell me, Sayo, what kind of buildings and spaces are you primarily interested in looking at constructing in the future? What would be your kind of dream project to tackle?
One of my dreams is to create buildings, especially in the technological, like, as we move on in society, we start to build more buildings and increase. As the population increase, we need to move people to these buildings to get a job and etc.
Cool. Okay. Perfect. Well, we've really enjoyed listening to your pitch this afternoon, Isaiah. Thank you very much for taking the time to put everything together and to spend some time with us explaining everything this afternoon. So unless you've got any kind of final points or anything you wanted to mention to the judges?
I have one question.
Sure.
What is the most important thing we need to discuss today? I mean,
That's an interesting one. Judges, what do you think if you had to, putting you on the spot, if you had to pick kind of one area that you think Hosea should be perhaps devoting the most amount of his time and attention to at the moment in his journey, what would you advise him to be considering perhaps?
I think is what you obviously in a very highly technical area where the minimum standards is going to require a lot of experience. I kind of admire your desire and drive and your original pitch around the vision that you have, but there's an awful long way to go for you before you're in a position to be able to start talking to clients about that and earning revenues. So my advice really, or from listening to where you see your career going, is to get those qualifications which you'll need, and to go and try and seek employment or through your training with a company that matches your ambitions and matches the type of and learn on the job, because it's a big jump. To start a business in this area, you're going to have a lot of years of kind of skills behind you to be able to convince clients to put their significant sums of money your way, if that makes sense. So I think you need to kind of research where you want to study, and with sponsorship with architecture, the type of firms that can offer you the kind of work experience that's going to then play into your long-term aspirations, as opposed to like a mass house builder that wouldn't be very challenging. You'd be better to look for some of those bigger firms that tend to do the big kind of the big developments.
Yeah, and I think as well as if you will get to where you want to be. You sound very passionate. You're very interested in this particular sector, but on that journey, and when you're learning how to do and to be what it is that you ultimately want to be, think about when you get there and when it's your turn, what it is you do differently to everyone else that makes people want to come to you, because it's a tough sector and you've got to have something very different, very special to offer.
Yeah, and also for me, as Silly just mentioned, it is a journey, and alongside what goes on in your business world or work world is just to look after yourself. Really, make sure you manage the moments. Life can be very harsh, and not just with knockbacks, but just the process. So just learn to have patience and make sure you have positive practices in your life that you can kind of lean into to support the well-being. It's all well chasing dreams, etc., but what consequence sometimes. So just look after yourself and trust the journey.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully some useful, good advice from all of our dragons there. But thank you very much again, Hosea, for taking the time to come and see us this afternoon. It says a lot in itself about your kind of get up and go and motivation and desire to improve yourself and to bring this dream to some kind of reality, that you've taken the time to be part of this process this afternoon. So congratulations on that, and thank you very much for speaking with us. We'll look forward to announcing the results of this afternoon later on, and our paths hopefully crossing again in the future, my friend.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. All the best out there. Take care.
And go take that tie off now. Well done.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Hosea. Okay, great. So just while Hosea is making his way out, then I can see our next pitch waiting in the waiting room. So I'm just at the moment waiting for a code through from him at the minute to be able to share his presentation with you, but hopefully we can clear that up very quickly. So joined by Josh Lawrence. Josh, good afternoon. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Yep, no, we can hear you, I think, okay at that end. One thing I'm going to say right from the off before we jump in, mate, is that the presentation you've sent me to share, it's asking for a verification code. Do you have said code?
I shall have a look. Emailed it.
Yes, I believe it's emailed to your Gmail account, looking at it.
Okay, yes, I have it. Yeah, would you like the code?
If I could, please, yeah, and then I'll get your presentation up as quick as I can for you.
Lovely. So it is 974.
Yep.
479.
479, yeah?
Yeah, 00.
Okay. Let's try and verify that. Okay, perfect. So with that in mind then, shall I share the screen and you can just talk direct to the screens at this end? If you just give me a heads up, Josh, when you want me to move on to the next screen, yeah? So,
Yeah, that's perfect.
okay, great. So we'll leave you to crack on, mate. Like I say, you've got 5 or 6 minutes for your pitch this afternoon with us. And then we'll take some questions from the Dragons at the end, if that's okay. So I'm hoping, Dragons, can you see the presentation there okay at that end?
Yeah.
Perfect. So Josh, over to you. Can you hear us all right at that end, Josh? Oh, I think he might have frozen, actually. We'll just give him a second to see if he comes back on. Josh, are you with us? Can you hear us okay?
Might be best if Josh turns his video off if he's struggling with internet connection. We just
Yeah, possibly, actually. I'm going to message him with exactly that suggestion, actually. Oh, hello, Josh. No, I am really struggling actually to hear him at this end. I'm going to send Josh a message and see if maybe he can dial back in and join us again. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, there we go. Josh, can you hear us okay?
Like right now. Yep.
Hello, Josh.
Yep, that's all good now.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, we were going to suggest
Hello.
maybe knock your video off, and that might help with the internet issues at that end.
Yeah.
So if you're happy at this
Yeah,
end, then, mate, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can talk us through your presentation, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so after you, Josh, whenever you're ready.
Cool. So, hello, welcome. This is my pitch, which I'm doing on a Leisure Activity Centre in Kettering. So I will talk you through all the different things and reasons why I think this is a good thing to do. So yeah, next one if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So how did this idea come about? So I thought of many different reasons why I think that an activity centre would be an amazing thing to do for Kettering and its community. Yeah. So one reason I think with this is a good idea to do is because there is a lack of activities we have here in Kettering. So we have some activities such as a swimming pool, a cinema and a bowling alley. However, they are kind of run down and not as well used I think they could be doing. Yep. So the activities we have are too spread apart in Kettering. So with our swimming pool and our bowling alley, they are around 30 minutes walking and 15 minutes drive from each thing, which causes lack of day trips for people as there's too much traveling between one activity to another. So free space to build. We are having many free areas of land to build now, which are being unused for many times. And when used, it's used for unnecessary type of things. So I feel with this activity, which I think I can build, I can have an amazing piece of land, which will not only benefit me, but benefit the town as its whole. Yep. So the need for local connection. More than ever, we need the local community to come together and see one another and enjoy our time now we have. So I feel like this activity leisure centre will bring the local community and families together to enjoy their time. Yeah. So my passion for business. I have an amazing passion for business, and during the start of this year, I launched a business which is called Amazon FBA. So FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. Yep. So with this, I do a wholesaling business where I buy off manufacturers and suppliers and sell products to Amazon. This is an amazing business for me, as many others do it, and an amazing way to get into it and learn how this will go along. So what will this facility hold? So one thing this facility would hold is a swimming pool. A swimming pool is an amazing leisure activity for people to do, as it is exercise and brings families and all ages together to do it. The next one is an indoor rock climbing. This is an amazing activity to do, as it's all ages welcome, and it's an amazing thing to do to get people together and enjoy your time whilst doing activities which can get the heart and blood pumping. The next one is a bowling alley. A bowling alley is a very popular thing for people to do. There's many all across the UK, and all type of people love bowling alleys, as it's an amazing activity and it's a fun thing to do no matter what you're doing, whether you're going for food or to a cinema. You would always want to do a nice activity such as a bowling alley. Yep. Cafes. So cafes are a good thing to hold in this facility towards a restaurant, as people are looking down to sit down for a while, have some food and drink, and then get back to doing all the different types of activities this thing will hold. Therefore, I think cafes are a good thing to do, as it has small amounts of food and drink and a good place to sit down. The next one is a soft play area. I think a soft play area is an amazing thing to have here, as during these activities, which may hold families that want to such as rock climbing and swimming, the younger ages will be able to have looked after by staff at a soft play area, so they can go and enjoy their activities whilst their children are safe and looked after. The next one is a sports hall. This is an amazing thing, as it's combining a 50-50 towards leisure and activity, which can hold many different activities such as squash, basketball, volleyball, and many others. Yep. So, location of Kettering Level Activity Centre. This is an amazing place where I think the activity centre should be held, as there's many different points I will go through which benefit this. So it's under 5 miles from Kettering Town Centre. This means that there's a really easy way for people to all around Kettering Town to attend this, whether they're driving, cycling or walking. Just off Junction 10 off the A14. This creates an amazing opportunity for people to come to this location without the stress of having to travel in and out of towns they're not unsure with. Or really bring in increased numbers. The reason I say this is because last year, in 2020, we had a McDonald's built just at the bottom there off Kettering Road. Therefore, daily it is bringing in many people who are coming just off the A14 or travelling in and out of Kettering to have food and sit around. It's easily accessible. It's easily accessible from many different locations, where it's from the A6 from Burton Latimer or Kettering Road from another end of Burton Latimer. It also has the A14 both sides and the A6 going in towards Kettering Town. So it's also had a new and safer roundabout system. As we have had many things and new roads being built around here, it's increased its number of traffic light systems and pathways to go across the roundabout, which makes it more safe for people who are walking or cycling across to come to these locations. So the costs. This is a cost rundown on many different types of costs it would need to fund facility. So land property, we will need to buy the land, so we have it all to yourself.
Well, I'm struggling to hear you a little bit at that end, Josh.
Okay, no problem. Is it all okay?
Oh, that's a little better. Yeah, got about a minute or so left if you've got the last few bits to run through, mate.
Yep, so high quality building company. Next one. New car park entrance and exit. And the next. Equipment for facilities. Staff. And the last one is advertisement. Thank you. Next one. So why should I let you help me out and support me? Why should you support me during this amazing facility to build? So it builds opportunities for more staff to come in and work. Next one is major increase in visits. So I have done research into this, which shows Rushden Lakes, which is 11 miles from Kettering, which was built in 2017. And over that time, from 2017 to date, it's had over 78,000 visits. Yeah. Yeah, thanks again. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So it's perfect for day. Facility can cause all different types of day plans, and this is one big building and does not mean you have to travel from very different locations to enjoy your one day out. Yep. This is all ages from 1 all the way up and holds very different amount of activities and facilities for you to do here. Affordable costs. We would try 100% best to make the best affordable costs for the people here. With all the types of facilities, food, drink, we all run here.
Perfect.
Thank you for listening.
A pleasure. Thank you very much for running us through that, and really appreciate you taking the time to put some slides and stuff together for us as well. Now, with given that we had a slight few technical issues, we haven't got masses of time for questions, so I'm going to kind of shut up and throw straight to the dragons to let you guys kind of jump in with any questions that you might have at that end.
Yeah, I'll just jump in quickly. Great willingness for you to jump in and take part in your community, mate. And yeah, just being proactive with all that entails. So just a quick one with the company that you're looking to kind of set up to facilitate all that needs to go on here, from acquiring land and obviously developing it, etc. Would it be a social enterprise or a limited company or community interest company? Have you had any thoughts around the framework around the company?
I would say I think the best would be a limited company. We would have to do more research into all different types, which will be more beneficial for us as a whole to work together.
Yeah, it'd be worth looking into, because like you said, it does get us, I do get a sense that you've got the community at the heart of this. So yeah, just exploring what that actually means alongside that would be wise.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a couple of questions from me, Josh. Thank you for your presentation. Firstly, you've clearly earmarked a site in Kettering. Have you made any inquiries as to how available that site is? I know there's a lot of regeneration and building going on in Kettering at the moment.
Yes, well, I have been looking, and it is shown that areas around there are still free, yet could be taken in the near future, as a new warehouse has not long been built in the area next to it. So we would be inquiring as how long the fields would be free, and if we can make an opportunity to buy that piece of land.
Okay. And secondly, my other question is, bearing in mind what I mentioned about there is an awful lot of regeneration going on around Kettering, have you inquired with the local authorities as to whether they have anything like that planned?
So that is a thing that's yet to still be done. So we will need to look into that more and make sure it's available and able to do, and if not, have an amazing solution of where near we can build that will still hold these amazing benefits of easily accessible and will make people want to come here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi Josh, first of all, well done on your presentation, and it's great to see a young person like yourself taking a real kind of interest in their hometown and what they perceive to be lacking, and trying to do something about it. So hats off to you. I was going to cover some of the points around the land use that Hilly's just done. So one of the things that, obviously this is a massive, multi-million-pound scheme and everything else, and yet you briefly touched upon a business that you'd started, which my ears really pricked up. And as somebody who has struggled like nothing to kind of get Amazon going, some advice is industry's crying out for young people who get Amazon, who can make Amazon work for middle-aged men like me who don't get it. So great that you've got this idea, and pursue it by all means, but don't lose sight. You're sitting on an absolute winning idea with your Amazon FBA, although you perhaps need to give it another name because Amazon have a department called Amazon FBA. And I would seriously, as advice, look at that because you've got an instant business idea there that you could develop very quickly and very successfully.
Thank you. Yeah. May have said the Amazon FBA. So I do Amazon FBA. It's not my business. So yeah, I do FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon, and I'm amongst the 40,000 people who make incomes each month. So I am part of them people, and it is an amazing business which I've looked into for a while and joined the many amount of people who are doing this.
Good luck with that, mate. I think that's a quick win for you, and you can pursue that whilst you're pursuing other development ideas, which will take a lot longer to come to fruition.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I totally echo what Andrew just said. Actually, I was thinking when you sort of mentioned it in passing, it was like, oh, hold on a minute, I want to know a bit more about that. So yeah, I think much as everybody's mentioned, great presentation. It's you obviously need a bit more time to put the thing across in the way that you want to than we've given you. But I would definitely say that the Amazon side of things and the scale of what Amazon will become is something that you need to be you need to be involved with, because clearly it's going to head in that direction even more so than it has already. I mean, it's already taken over the world, so it's going to be whatever's going to be the next thing. So, I'd really thoroughly recommend, as Andrew said, going with that as much as you can do in parallel with whatever else you want to be doing.
Thank you. Yeah, so with the time I have had to make this presentation, I thought it was beneficial to let you all know about my type of business, which I have got in towards, and why it was beneficial for me. And it's an amazing opportunity. And with more time, there is more stuff to discover and talk about, which will increase the amazing amounts of intelligence. So thanks for that.
Josh, the country needs entrepreneurs, mate. And most people who do well in business, it's usually their fifth or sixth idea that they've come up with before they get the winning one. So whatever the knockbacks are and whatever ideas you got, just keep going and keep having that drive and passion and keep working harder than the next person. And I'm sure you'll do well.
Thank you a lot. That is very appreciated. And I have many side hustles which I'm getting into and learning more different stuff and taking amazing opportunities to get forward for this. So thank you a lot.
Love to hear it. Always be hustling, Josh.
Always.
Thank you very much, man. Really appreciate your time this afternoon, and thanks a lot for putting so much time and effort into it. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to releasing the results of this afternoon, obviously later on. And yeah, I hope you'll tune back in for those later. But in the meantime, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It was great to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
For having me. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye bye. Okay, so I am, in which case, just going to admit our next contestant and try and get us back to somewhere near on time. So without further ado, our next contestant joining us is a Luke Pittman, who is just dialing into the session now. Good afternoon, Luke. Can you hear us at that end okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Perfect. Did you want to start your video at that end, or are you struggling for bandwidth, or?
I can share my screen. I can't seem to get my camera to work though, so I'm just sitting here in a shirt and tie.
Okay, that's fine.
No
if you're having issues with the camera, my friend, that's fine. I won't hold you up any longer. In which case, obviously, it's we're really pleased to have you with us this afternoon. Obviously, you can see our dragons in front of us. We've got Hilly, Oliver, Andrew, and Mark. So without further ado, then I'll throw to you, Luke. In which case, and you can crack on with your pitch fate.
Thank you.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, mates.
It says I can't share my screen.
Okay, sweet. 2 seconds. I didn't realize you'd got slides at that end. I can make you the host. I'll just have to get you to make me the host again once you've finished, if that's all right, Luke.
Okay, that's fine.
Perfect. So I've given you temporary control at that end then. So you should be able to share your slides with us from there. Perfect. Okay, so you got about 5 minutes or so then to run through those with us. So without further ado, I'll leave you to crack on, Luke.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So basically, my idea is it's a facial recognition door lock. So in theory, the door lock acts as almost like a Ring doorbell, and similar design and everything, and it electronically connects to the actual door lock itself. The door lock will also come with an app prepared and developed, whereby owners and customers of the product can create these contacts with certain restrictions as well as conditions on each contact, and through the app is where you create and use your face to create that contact for the camera to then recognize and open the door. So the idea itself came from my college course that I'm currently on. I'm studying a level 4 HNC course in computing, and one of my units within this course is managing a successful computing project. And as part of this unit, our first assignment is to do with creating a new IoT product that we would theoretically produce and develop and then launch to market. And after about 2 sessions at the start where I was brainstorming some IoT ideas, I came up with the facial recognition door lock. And I did take inspiration from the new Ring doorbell and noted that there could have been an extra element where the Ring doorbell could actually unlock the door itself. So I created that idea. And then as part of my assignment, it's based around a project management plan, and that is the whole research and development side of the whole product phase. And through the plan, we had to conduct a small scale market research sort of exercise where I handed out a questionnaire to 20 people, some of them in my class, some of them family and friends. I couldn't do a large scale one, but 20 was enough for the assignment. And one of the questions in the questionnaire was the whole, would you feel comfortable with the idea, or would you like the concept of a facial recognition door lock? And through that, we found, it's not on here, sorry, but 80% of people said that they would enjoy or would purchase such product, and they think it was a good idea. And for those 20% that weren't so sure, the question after further explained the further details and functions of the actual facial recognition door lock. And then I also posed the question of whether knowing a bit more detail about the door lock would either make them more interested or less interested. And 90% of those people who said that they weren't interested in the question beforehand said that they were now more inclined to purchase and use this product. And the final question of the questionnaire was what sort of pricing of the product would they expect, and the average price given was £150. And also within this project management plan, I broke down costs behind the components as well as sort of everything else, and costs of components and assembly of the product would be around £99. So given the average price of the questionnaire was 150, it would therefore give a gross profit of £51 per unit sold. Here is a sort of breakdown of what's in my project management plan, sort of prototyping, app development, but in time I might be able to do some of the developing myself instead of hiring someone else. But this is just a theoretical cost breakdown if I was to have funding behind and, you know, the company and stuff like that. This is just what's in the scenario for our assignment.
Okay.
And the general design of it would initially look like a Ring doorbell, and on the left you would see a picture of an electronic door lock that would then be connected to the actual Ring or the doorbell itself. So yeah, and yeah, it's just that the camera will scan the person's face, check its system for whether it's a contact and the conditions that apply. And if the door can be unlocked, it would then send a message to the door lock, and the door lock would then obviously unlock and they can enter the door.
Okay, perfect. Got about a minute. Oh, well, there we go. I was about to say you've got about a minute if you've got anything else you wanted to cover, but looks like we've timed that perfectly actually at this end. So thank you very much for running us through that, Luke. Did you want to drop the screen share off at that end, and we'll
Yes.
go back to the gallery for you, and then yeah, if you could make me the host on this again, please, that would be great, and then we'll hand to the dragons for some questions if that's okay.
Shall I go first? Hi, Luke. Great idea and great presentation. Lovely to see some numbers in a business plan as well. So well done for that. For the product itself, obviously there's two thoughts in my head, and I just wanted to see which way you were drifting towards, or both. One is to buy a product that you retrofit to your door, and the other is to devise and develop a product that you sell to door manufacturers for them to integrate into new doors, which may be easier. Had you done any kind of analysis as to whether the route for your product to market would be better suited on a new door fitted? And is there any technical way that if it unlocked the door, it could power the door open as well? Because I'm forever coming back with numerous bags and shopping and golf bags, and if I could just walk up and the door opened, it would be fantastic. But so just a few ideas, and I just wondered what sort of research you've got in relation to how to get the product to market.
So what I had in mind was we would create an instruction plan as well as the necessary tools and equipment for the consumer themselves to set the door lock and the doorbell up and be able to pair them correctly. I was contemplating on whether having like professional locksmiths or people come out and fit them themselves, or I send out engineers, say, to do it themselves. But I believe sending out instructions for the consumer would be cheaper and easier for me, really.
Okay, I mean, what I would say, I'm in the market looking for a front door at the moment, and I'm absolutely staggered how expensive they are. I wouldn't personally want to start bashing my shiny new door around. I'd want someone to do it for me and make sure it works. So I would, as advice, definitely explore the kind of professionally fitted or approaching door manufacturers. But I think it's a really good idea. So well done, mate.
Thank you.
Could I just ask a question now, please?
Of course.
Okay, thank you very much for a brilliant presentation. It's so good to see, statistics and research, which ultimately started off as a project as part of your education, which is really, really excellent to see. I think my question is all about, have you looked into whether Ring, which is obviously a very well-known brand, have something like this in the pipeline? And if they haven't, could this be something that you could sell to them, having already been up and running?
Yeah, so it was the initial idea of, I sort of looked at Ring, because I sort of saw everyone I knew sort of buying these Ring doorbells.
Yeah,
and I saw that as, what could I improve on this? And I saw the idea of the facial recognition door lock. So potentially I could, and we could come up with the idea of sort of selling it to Amazon or whoever owns Ring, to then they add on to Ring themselves, or we launch it as a product separately.
I mean, my advice would be, if that was a route that you were considering taking, having done some very careful and diplomatic research, shall we say, first of all, I'd think about getting a patent as well if it does work. But brilliant, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I just add a bit to that? Look, that was great, and as echoing everybody else, it's really nice to see some numbers, because it means, on the one hand, you're leaving yourself wide open for us all to go, nah, that doesn't make any sense, to actually, yes, the numbers work and everything else. So it's really good to have had that element of your presentation. And much as we could say, I think you want to spend a bit more on that or a bit less on that, you've already covered that by saying, yeah, it's just a hypothetical thing, so that's brilliant. One thing I would say, you know, and I was, Hilly's already picked up on the patent thing, but I've had some experience of applying for patents in the past, and you know, you can quite easily get something in place which will give you some kind of intellectual property protection on this, and you know, particularly it's quite difficult to get a worldwide patent, but it's very easy to get some IP cover, you know, for the intended initial markets. And I would thoroughly recommend having a look at that. And you know, first thing to do obviously is look at the patent office and see whether there's anything else been applied for on that basis, because if it isn't there, you might just be lucky that you can just get in and get the patent, you know. And it really is that simple sometimes, you know. And I mean, I applied for a patent for something we were doing within a project, Fairline Boats, and yeah, we just applied for it and got the patent, and then I got global license on it without any trouble at all. And so, you know, it's definitely something you should look at, because clearly, I mean, one of the things that has always bugged me about domestic security is that, you know, you've got all this tech in cars and on everything else and phones and all that, and yet you've still got a blooming key.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's ridiculous, really, when you look at it in that context.
Yeah.
You know, you should at least be able to press a button and unlock all the doors in your house at the same time. You know, and it just isn't on anybody's radar, it seems. St Andrew's Point, you know, your front door is, you know, you don't really want to be hacking holes in it and whatever else. I mean, I've just fitted a Nest, you know, thermostat here, and you know, it all looks great, and it just, you know, you see all the pictures of it on the wall. It's like, well, where's the wiring? How do you get the wires in the wall? It's a real problem. It's really difficult. And so, to take your point about should I have engineers? Yes, you should, because you need someone to fit it, because most people aren't as techie as I am, and I really struggle with that stuff. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, most consumers are going to want a one-stop shop, even if it's another 200 quid for installation. That's what people are going to do. I currently, you know, I completely believe that. So I think great presentation, great concept. I think you should protect it and do something with it.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, everything's been covered really. I'm just going to jump in and thank you for your detailed presentation, and I wish you well. I'll buy one. So you've got your first customer there, my friend.
Thank you.
No worries.
Ben, you're on mute.
Luke, whilst we're waiting for Ben to come back again, the facial recognition technology itself, presumably that is something you would have to, you wouldn't develop your own version of that, because that's taken the biggest firms in the world, you know, 20 years to perfect. So in terms of taking on effectively somebody else's technology, but applying it into a product that has a new use, that's probably that's the area of the protection that you'll be looking for. You're not patenting facial technology recognition. You're patenting the connection between that and unlocking a door.
Yeah.
And that because you haven't got to prove that technology because it's already existed, but you would probably need to partner with somebody that could hold it. So you know, if this is an idea you want to pursue, then obviously working closely and having some non-disclosure agreements with the facial recognition people is probably your starting point, I would think.
And I'll just add to that, Andrew, the point about patent is not a product, it's a process. You cannot patent a product, you can only patent a process.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is saying this new process is taking this existing technology and applying it to this. And that's exactly what you would have to do.
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't need to worry about whether you know how to physically do it. You just need to have that process controlled.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I did my A levels in business as well, so I understand the process of
brilliant.
all of this stuff.
Cool.
It's all very valuable information.
Jolly good.
Absolutely, and it looks like it's had an effect, because it was a really good presentation that you put together for us, Luke, this afternoon. So thank you very much for your time in doing so, mate. I'm afraid we are out of time for this particular slot, and we're going to need to move on. But really appreciate you again taking the time to join us today, Luke. So thank you very much, and good luck for the future, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All the best. Thanks, Luke.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to admit our next contestant straight away. We've got a familiar face with a different idea. Good afternoon again, Mr. Josh King. How are you doing out there?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Good. So we are, I'll be honest, running a couple of moments behind. So rather than reintroduce you to the Dragons again at this end, I'm going to hand straight over to you and let you tell us about your second idea for the afternoon.
All right, thank you very much. So hello, I'm Josh King. I'd once again like to thank you for the opportunity today. My business idea this time is a property development business. This business would start out in East Midlands, looking for it to go nationwide. I would also start this business in 2023. The reason I can't start it any sooner is because I'm currently 18 and you need to be 21 to get the buy-to-let mortgage. The reason I want to get into property development is because it is a proven great passive income business, with property prices continuing to rise, with the average increase in 2020 of 5.4% in England. Also, everybody needs a place to call home, and with the increase in property prices, lots of people can't afford to buy a home anymore, so they end up renting. So these people that are renting, they can rent from me and pay my mortgage for me. I will achieve this by saving up to buy the deposit for my first property in 2023 and get the buy-to-let mortgage. The unique selling point of my business is I would do a 3-year lease, and within their rent, I would take an extra £100 each month, and then I would pay back £3,600 to them if there's no damages, and if they pay their rent on time each month. So that would be from the 36 months they've rented with me, I'd just pay them their £100 back. Looking to the future, I plan to continue to build a portfolio and even do some house flips as well as the rent, to then get more deposits to buy more houses, to grow the business further. What I'd like from you guys is further guidance to make this business a success. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Any questions?
Perfect. Well, thank you for running us through the pitch at this end, Josh. I don't know whether any of our dragons around the table have got any direct property experience that they can speak to, perhaps direct, but either way, perhaps maybe Hilly, do you want to kick us off with some questions this time?
Unmute myself. It's a minefield, isn't it, property? And property development is it's a big thing to take on, and from what I gather, you're looking at putting this together throughout the East Midlands.
Yes.
Is that right, Joe? Yeah. Okay. And have you? I mean, I know you're 18.
Yes.
But what is it that particularly interests you about this sector? Because it is, renting property. My understanding, and I know people who do rent property, is that you don't always, get back what you rented out in the first place, and there can be a lot of additional cost and costs that you're not expecting when you do rent. So, what are your views on that? What is it that interests you in the first place? I appreciate it's the revenue.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Why is it that you're passionate about getting into property development particularly?
Just because it's a proven source of passive income, and everyone's extra money. So by building a portfolio it's like a lifelong investment. I'll always have the properties, hopefully, and then it could help me for retirement or to pass them to my kids when I'm older or anything.
Okay, I mean, aside from the fact that renting property isn't always what it's cracked up to be, there's an awful lot of liability with landlords as well,
Yes.
to protect the people that are renting from you. Have you actually thought about that and the costs involved with that?
Yeah, I know you've got to pay for the insurance, then any damages that may happen within the property, and all things like that.
And making your property safe.
Yes.
You
But
know.
I'd probably get a new build as well, so then it's got all the latest building standards as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Josh. I really admire it when I hear 18-year-olds absolutely can't wait to get to 21 because they want to be an entrepreneur, and they're talking about saving. It's great, and I wish you well. And obviously, when this is a very successful, you'll be able to fund a nightclub as well, which I think is fantastic. So, just on the USP point about the loyalty payback bonus, which I like the idea about. There's a danger that that will just price you £100 above the market rent, and people who are on limited and low incomes might just look at that and not get it. How would you convince them that that £100 is a worthwhile extra monthly cost against other properties on the market?
Because it's a cost they don't have to worry about, which will also help them get onto the property market as well. Because a lot of people nowadays can't afford to buy. So by them paying the extra £100 a month rent, then is like looking to the future for them, giving them the 3,600 return that they can put into their deposit for their own home.
Good answer. And I like the idea of a kind of, if you like, a savings plan with them. They probably would be incentivized by a small kind of interest on that, if that makes sense. Also, obviously, the property, getting into property is a very capital hungry, and to save between now and your first property will be a real challenge. With the drive and enthusiasm, however, you could manage other people's money in respect of people that have got investment to make, but they haven't got either the time or the energy to do that. So would you consider as an option with your business to actually receive investors' cash and effectively run a portfolio and share the proceeds?
Possibly. It's not something I've thought into at the moment, but that's another idea I can look into for the future. Thank you.
Okay. Mark, Oliver, did you have any questions perhaps at your end?
Yeah, I got one thing I was going to say, which has slipped my mind, but it was about this. The 3.6, the £3,600 that you need to pay back to them after they've contributed £100 a month extra. What is the benefit to you for that, except for cash flow?
It also helps me because they've got the incentive, so they're not going to damage the property, and they're going to want to pay the money on time in full each month to then get the £3,600 back at the end of the 3-year lease.
So do you think that, would the proposal from you be then that they wouldn't have to pay an upfront deposit? Or would they have to pay an upfront deposit as well?
No, they wouldn't actually, because this is their deposit.
Yeah, okay. So the only risk for you then is if they get 6 months in and they just take off and stop paying the rent, you haven't had enough money out of them to justify you haven't a proper deposit off them as such. So you've not, because normally when you move out of a property, you'll get the deposit back minus any damages. But if they've not been there long enough for that to be an issue, then for them to actually paid enough, then they leave you with an empty property which isn't paying the rent, and they've not paid you a deposit to compensate for that in any way. So it's just worth, I'm not discrediting the idea, but it's just worth considering that you probably want to go a bit of both. I think you'd want a deposit, and then you'd probably also want to give them the to give them the opportunity of the savings plan. But anyway, that's just my sort of immediate thinking on it. The other thing I would say is that to echo Andrew's point, it is a cash hungry thing, and you've got like 3 years to raise enough for a deposit, and you have to also be able to demonstrate an income that's going to be able to pay the mortgage. So, there are a number of things to consider within that. So it maybe is worth working towards finding, some investors who you can pull together to create this product, because that way you know, like Andrew said, you've got people with money, but no time or imagination. And then you've got the entrepreneurial attitude that will allow it to return them money on their investment. So that would also be my philosophy as well.
Perfect. Well, we're just waiting on our next person to dial in with us. So we've probably got time for one more if you've got anything from your end, Mark.
No, if I'm honest, not at all. Just as everyone said, really, just your endeavours are commendable, and looking ahead and looking towards the future and is great. So no doubt you'll get what you want. That's all.
Cool, perfect. Well, thank you very much, and Josh, thank you again for seeing us twice, in fact, this afternoon, and sharing your thoughts and plans for the future with us. So all the best with all of those endeavours, and yeah, really hoping that you get to where you want to be with those projects, mate. But in the meantime, thanks a lot for joining us. We will be, as you know, announcing the results shortly. So yeah, fingers crossed. We'll hopefully cross paths with you again in the future, man.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the time.
Thanks, Josh. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're just waiting on our next, our penultimate contestant to join us. I've just had an email from him at this end to say that he's in the process of just dialing in and joining us as well. So yeah, hopefully he'll be along any minute. So one question I am curious to ask all of you judges, while we do have a spare moment, perhaps, some of these guys that look incredibly young at that age, what were you guys doing when you were kind of 18, 19? Were you anywhere near as entrepreneurially focused as these kids? Because I know I wasn't.
I was just riding around on a motorcycle and just wondering what to do with my life.
It's certainly a motivated generation out there, isn't it? That's coming up. So, well, without further ado, our friend Luke has now just joined us. So we'll let him in and let him crack on with his pitch as well. And then we've got Casey rejoining us in about 15 minutes as well, just to share their pitch as well. So, Luke, can you hear us at that end? Okay.
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect. Did you want to share your screen at that end, or are you kind of more comfortable just with your voice? How did you want to do this?
I'm more comfortable with just my voice, and I'm not sure if it will sort of crash the call if I put my camera on.
That's fine, man. That's probably a pragmatic choice. We've had a couple of issues this afternoon, so that's probably a good idea, actually. But we really appreciate you taking some time out of your afternoon to join us this afternoon, and thank you for putting the pitch together. Joined by 4 dragons, as you know, Andrew, Oliver, Mark, and Hilly. So without further ado, I will hand over to you then, Luke, and you've got about 5 or 6 minutes or so to share your idea with us.
Okay, thank you. Is there a way I can share my PowerPoint on here?
I can, yes. What I will need to do is just make you the host briefly, and then when you finished your pitch and we kind of go back for questions, I'll just ask you to make me the host again at this end to hand it back, if that's okay. But you should now be the host at that end to be able to share your slides with us, Luke. So crack on in your own time.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to see that?
Yep, no, that's perfect.
Okay, thank you. So my idea is called Customize. So who is Customize? This is a company who wants to update the world of car tuning, with petrol cars becoming a thing of the past and electric car sales rapidly increasing. We want to help change the minds of car enthusiasts that electric cars are no good. One thing that car enthusiasts love about petrol cars would be the sound. Whether it's a V6 or a V12, it's the sound of an engine that makes the car feel alive. This idea came around as a car enthusiast myself. I wondered, why is there a disliking to electric cars among the petrol head community? I realised there was something missing from the things that car enthusiasts like about cars, and that was the sound. There is something ghost-like about the silence of an electric car that made it difficult for car enthusiasts to enjoy. So what do? We will make sound systems for electric cars. To try and stop global warming increase, we need to try and get as many people on board with driving electric cars. However, I know it's difficult to try and love electric cars and removing the exhaust sound will also be very different and difficult for a car enthusiast to get used to. Hopefully, as the business grows and more experience is gained, we can then hopefully progress on to changing cars with combustion engines into electric vehicles by using similar motors and similar batteries from a similar electric vehicle. How we will work. A simple installation of a sound system inside and outside of the vehicle will give us surround sound effect, which you would expect to find in a normal petrol car. Large speakers we place in the rear bumper where there's a lot of wasted space and will give off the effect that is coming from the noises coming from the exhaust. The speakers would be wired to a chip placed in the car, and this would be programmed, a sound would be programmed onto here and controlled by an app on the smartphone, where the user can control the volume or the sound of the car. The chip will match the revs and braking of the car. Target audience. So the target audience will be projected at 17 or above, or anyone who has a passion for petrol cars but still keen to help out with the environment. So to begin with, we already have our customers will be people who already have electric cars or hybrids, but we'll move on to people who have combustion engine cars, and we'll start converting them into electric as well. So why will this be a success? So production of petrol cars will stop by 2030, and an idea like this has never been thought of before, and we want to be one of the very first to start putting this idea into action. There are many gaps in the electric market, and they do not greatly appeal to car enthusiasts, and we need to try and change this. For example, there are very few electric SUVs and sports cars, so if we can convert them into electric, that would benefit the environment greatly. In addition to this, being able to hear a car approaching when crossing near a blind bend would be very important, as this may be difficult to the silence of electric cars, so with the added noise from the speakers, this may also benefit pedestrians. Further opportunities will bring the many different opportunities that come with this project, as there's a very large market all over the world that drive cars, and by getting the public to convert to electric vehicles, but still seeming like they're driving their ordinary vehicle, then cars polluting the environment will hopefully no longer be a problem. Thank you for listening.
Perfect. Well, a big thank you for running through that with us, Luke. A really interesting one, and a very timely one, I would imagine, for a lot of people right now. I know there's a lot of people out there that's starting to think about electric cars and making the jump. So yeah, really interesting to listen to your thoughts on that, Luke. So thank you very much for that. Before we throw back over to the Dragons for any questions, did you want to stop the screen share at that end and just pass the host back to me so that we can pass back over then, and with that in mind, when you've done that, I will leave it to the Dragons to ask some questions.
Well, does anybody mind if I start on this one?
No, go for it.
So, Luke, interesting proposal. There's a couple of things I'd like to say about this, because I've got a business that restores Jaguar E-types, and we've got an electric program, electric engine powertrain replacement project sort of ongoing at the moment. So one of the things that I would say is that I think there's a market for it, most definitely. I think you do need to get in early, and I think you do need to get some form of intellectual property protection, i.e. a patent of some sort, in place, and be very clear about what it is, what process it is you're trying to patent. Just a little bit of input for me is that I went and test drove the Porsche Taycan recently, because I was really interested to see what an electric Porsche would be like and whether it would have that kind of buzz about it that driving a normal one does. And I think I can happily report that it does. It's got, it has certainly got a sound about it, and it's certainly got quite a, you know, sort of jump to light speed feel about it. It's quite an impressive thing. But you know, it's not to say that it's it couldn't do with a bit more. So, and I think that converting from a standard petrol engine flat six 911 into an electric car, there is still something missing at that level. So I fully understand what you're doing, and I think that it's a good idea. And I think there's definitely also a market for it in the classic car sector. So the only thing I would say is that you probably want to think a little bit more about the customer experience, as in inside the car, more than trying to make the sound come from the same place as it normally does as such, because I think that's largely irrelevant, except that the people in the street want to hear the car coming, which is also dealt with in different ways on electric cars. So, you know, good project, good ideas. I think a little bit of evolution of the thinking, and I think you've got a really good idea there.
Thank you.
Perfect. Who wanted to jump in next? Hilly, have you got anything?
Yeah, I think my husband's got a hybrid car, and the one thing when I drive that car that I don't like is how quiet it is from a safety aspect in terms of pedestrians.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that that's where I would be going with this, in terms of it being a good thing to have from a safety point of view. Electric cars are, of course, far more, or alleged to be far more environmentally friendly, and I believe that they are, and it is obviously the way that we're all going. I wouldn't be keen on emulating like very loud car noises,
No.
because I think that's defeating the object of the environmentally friendly aspect of what it is you're trying to create here.
Sure.
But I think from a safety point of view, it's a really good idea. And again, you know, Oliver's absolutely right. Patenting, really, really important once you've got that exact process that it is that you wish to create. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Luke. Yeah, good presentation, good idea, mate. I just pick it up on Hilly's point about safety, because I wonder really what the Department of Transport's view is for a future where the vast majority of cars on the road are making no sound, and we've got kids running out, and you know, people with visual impairments, and I've pretty much nearly stepped out in front of an electric car by being lazy and relying on my ears and not my eyes. So I can imagine in a health and safety conscious world where they'll start enforcing cars to make a noise, and therefore if you can get in there early, that's great. I also wondered though whether you'd actually tested any of this kind of technology. You talked about a chip that can mimic kind of acceleration and things like that and get that kind of sound, but is this just an idea that or is it something you've actually already tried to capture and sort of have a go in a sort of mock-up sort of situation?
No, this is just an idea at the moment. I haven't sort of tested anything, although I have seen in some models and other sort of model and scale model and stuff where they have a chip and sound system where they replicate sort of sound systems.
Can I just add something to that? I know when I was at McLaren, we were on the MP4 road car. That car was deemed too quiet inside, so they actually made noise. You know, they simulated engine noise inside the car. You know, so they have done it even on a petrol-driven car. They've done it to make it sound slightly more exciting than it otherwise would have done. So it does exist. And in fact, you know, the noise generators, the signal generators that create the sounds are all pretty well readily available, but it's just a question of making sure that you've got the integration with the software that runs the car in the first place, which is the difficult bit. And that is why you need to be looking to get some IP on the process and then worrying later about how you implement it.
Cool. Did you have any last questions at your end, Mark, or anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm trusting Oliver as well with some of his feedback with what he does on a daily basis. But like everybody, really, you know, and maybe as a parent as well, like my ears just tuned into the health and safety element of it, which is, you know, really important without stating the obvious. But also just excited for you as well, because if you have got the early stages here of an idea that feels like it could, go places, you know, with the rules being forced upon us by 2030, whenever it was you mentioned, then you know, it's going to be a big space with, you know, a lot of money and a lot of attention being focused on it. So even a little bit of that pie might be, you know, something worth chasing. So, as Oliver alluded to, or everyone has really, just explore it a little bit deeper, get a bit more guidance. And it feels like you could be into a nice little business here, mate.
Yep, will do.
Certainly a potentially lucrative market in the future by the sounds of it. Well, Luke, thank you very much for taking the time to put together such a a well thought out pitch for us at this end and for taking the time to join us. Yeah, really good luck with your ventures moving forward, and yeah, all the best.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Luke.
Cool. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, somehow we are now back to just a 1 minute behind schedule, I think, on where we should be. And I'm pleased to say that Casey's back in the waiting room, hopefully able to rejoin us this time. So I'll let him back in and we'll hopefully be able to enjoy the last presentation for this afternoon. Good afternoon, Casey. Can you hear us okay at that end now?
Yes, I can.
There we go. That's much better. Perfect. Did you want to stick with just your kind of voice at that end, or did you need to pop the camera on? What's kind of easiest at your end?
I'll stick with my voice.
Cool. Probably a safe bet. That's absolutely fine. Perfect. Well, really pleased to be able to welcome you back. Thank you very much for persevering and jumping back on at the end with us. We've got, like I say, 5 minutes or so for you to go through your pitch, and then we'll hand to the Dragons for them to kind of give them some notes and some questions along the way as well. So yeah, without further ado, Casey, feel free to take it away in your own time.
Thank you. So, hello everybody. So my pitch was a cold water bottle. So we all get a hot water bottle, but the hot water bottle, my cold water bottle is going to be the opposite. So that we put hot water in it, and so with cold water in it, and it will keep it cool instead of hot. It will benefit people in summer when it's really warm and stuffy, then stuffy hot nights when we can't sleep. It's something for us there to like comfort us through the night. I think it will benefit many ages. It will help. It will certainly help me sleep, because I struggle sleeping in the summer. I don't like stuffy nights. It will help me a lot. I'm ready to take questions.
Okay, perfect. Well, short and sweet and a nice simple idea. I like that. Probably one that certainly last summer, I would imagine a few people would have been clamoring out for in the heat. Dragons, I wonder who wants to perhaps go first?
I'll go first.
Sure.
So this idea, it's from a well-being point of view, realistically, isn't it? So or a health aspect, I guess, too. Are you looking to create almost the exact equivalent to a hot water bottle, so like a soft version rather than a hard-sided cold water bottle, which we can get, can't we? Because ultimately we use them as drinks bottles and things like that.
Yeah.
Are you trying to recreate the hot water bottle but a cold water version, so that that water inside there remains cold and it's a soft product as opposed to a hard-sided product?
Yes, I am trying to recreate a hot water bottle, but putting cold water in it instead to keep it cool.
Okay, and have you thought about the science behind that? So how would you achieve that? How would that be, you know, what is the difference between a hot water bottle, sort of like a rubber bottle, isn't it?
Yes, so I would use a different type of rubber to try and keep it cool, and the insulation, because an actual thermal water bottle that you get, I will use the insulation from that,
right,
to put into the rubber in the hot water bottle,
right,
to keep it cold.
Right, okay, so an existing hot water bottle, if I put cold water in it, it doesn't stay cold, or it doesn't give you the element of, or it's not as cold as you would want it to be. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, no, I just thinking about it. Initially, I just thought that must exist, but actually, as I'm thinking about it, obviously you get them that liquid that you can put in the fridge or the freezer, but that only seems to stay cold for about a couple of minutes. Like I said, depending on how warm it is outside, it's it gets quite warm quite quick. So as you mentioned, if there's an opportunity there to create something which is lasts longer or colder for longer, then yeah, like soft, as you mentioned, because you can get them bottles out there that kind of keep cold in and heat in, etc. So yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking it's a blatantly obvious idea that I can't seem to see on the market. So yeah, well done for that, mate. But in regards to some of the science behind it, apart from the standard business questions around the branding and Hilly tapped into it, like your approach to the market from a well-being point of view, or is it just a summer product? There's a lot of education out there now in regards to like cold therapy and kind of having cold on your skin, and something that I'm really interested in. So yeah, with different ways of people experiencing different things these days, I'm sure if you attack it properly and kind of really gravitate towards a certain marketplace, that there could be something in this.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've got 2 questions on this, or 2 points to make really. One is I think it's I think from what we're saying, we're trying to establish what the process would be to keep it cold for a decent period of time. So where does it differentiate from a standard hot water bottle? That's the first thing. I think the second thing to me is the range of different things you could use it for, rather than it just being something that would be you'd have in the bed. So for me, I'd like to see something about what the process would be for keeping the water cool in it, such that it's going to do a job for more than an hour or 2. That's my take on it. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Okay, great stuff. Well, Casey, we really appreciated you persevering with us and being able to join us again this afternoon. So thank you very much for your pitch. And unless anybody else had any other questions that they wanted to throw out at this point.
No, thank you.
No, we're all good. Cool. Okay, brilliant. Well, Casey, thank you very much again. Good luck in your ventures out there. Hope you have a great rest of the afternoon in the meantime. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you. Bye-bye.
We are going to jump off of the live broadcast here on Facebook then for a few moments and do some private deliberation between the Dragons and with Anna Maria and Lottie from East Northamptonshire Council, who are joining us as well. So we will be jumping back onto Facebook shortly and broadcasting the results and the outcome of the judging. So thank you very much for joining us for part 2, and we hope you'll be able to rejoin us for part 3 shortly. Thank you.